everyone? We are back in the building for the Guru Nation podcast, coming at you straight from Lafayette, Louisiana. So we're ready to get this thing going. I'm your host, Spencer the Guru, here with my co-host, Josh Como. What's up, big dog?
Oh, not too much, Spence, man. I gotta tell you, I missed that, man. I miss the Guru Nation intro, even though I see it on Instagram all the time. But I miss sitting next to you and hearing it. It's been a while, man, but it's good to be back.
For sure, man. For sure. Yeah, it's been a wild summer for both of us. Despite all the quarantine, we've been working our butts off, man. We've just been trying to keep things going, stay afloat during this crazy time. But we're not gonna dive too much into all that craziness. We're focused here on the positives, winning our leagues, and getting into what we're gonna do on draft day. Because man, looking at the calendar, we're already in freaking August. Like it is flying by. All the time is flying by. We're ready to get this thing underway here and dive into what you should do on draft day in order to have an ideal draft and dominate your draft and hopefully win your league. So we're about to dive into that here on the Guru Nation podcast. That is what we're calling it now, the Guru Nation podcast. It started off as just Guru's podcast, but I mean, hey, it's about the community, right?
That's right.
I got my co-host Josh right here, and of course all the listeners out there. We're a community, the nation, the Guru Nation. And we're hoping soon to have a flag here back behind us, the Guru Nation Army battle cry flag, have that rolling. So yeah, we're going to war this year, y'all. We're going to war. It's been a weird all season to say the least, but we're ready to do battle. And so, you ready to dive into this thing?
I'm ready, man. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. So, to kick things off, I usually kick off my draft. I usually keep my fingers crossed, hoping for a high pick type thing. And if I get it, well, I already know what I'm doing because I've done enough mock drafts. And, I mean, the receiver truthers can say what they want, but, I mean, it goes back to the old cliche. You got to go with a running back. Running backs early to start your fantasy draft.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree. We're going to get more into the later rounds later, but when it comes to that first round, I don't care if you have the first pick. I don't care if you have the 12th pick. I don't care if I have any pick in between. I am going running back. It's almost a guarantee. I mean, the absolute only way that I wouldn't go a running back in the first round would be if I had the 12th pick and every single running back that I liked ahead of Michael Thomas was picked, and then Michael Thomas was sitting there. And then even then, I would still probably pick a running back there, whichever running back was next on my list, and then Michael Thomas. That's about the only way. But that's not happening because what's happening in most of your drafts is going to be the Devontae Adams, the Michael Thomases, the Julios, the DeAndre Hopkins, or the Tyreek Hill. Those five guys are kind of scattered in that first round. And normally you can expect at least three of them to be picked in the first round. So you're really not going to run into that problem. But like you said, look, if you're a wide receiver truth, you want to go that route, hey, by all means, go that route. You're just not going to catch me doing it,
For sure. And then we also, the thing is now, a lot of people seem to be catching on to the trend we're saying about going running back early, because in my latest mock draft Monday, which we do every Monday over on Instagram, only one receiver went in the first round, and that was can't guard Michael Thomas. And so a lot of people are catching on to the running back early trend. And so we'll just go over we'll start off with the early part of first. I mean, CMC, Saquon, Zeke, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook. To me, those five are obvious, locked and loaded as first rounders. However, Kamara and Cook do have a little more risk tied to them. So I could maybe see someone making the argument for Michael Thomas at pick 1.4. However, I just explain yourself. Why is Mike at 1.4 that much of a reach?
So look, I've actually tried doing a mock draft where I've picked Michael Thomas early because I wanted to see kind of how it would go. If you pick Michael Thomas early, that's fine. You're going to get a guy that's going to probably give you at least 20 points a game, probably 15 out of the 16 games, if not all 16 games, right? You get a guy that's durable, you get a guy that's going to play every game, and you get a guy that's going to get a ton of targets. The problem is, by the time it gets back to you, right, you're looking at your running back one. You are lucky if your league lets a guy like Aaron Jones slip to you, or you're lucky if you're getting somebody like Leonard Fournette. That's the kind of guys you're looking for. Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley. You're looking at those guys now, as your running back 1. So then by the time it's your time for your running back 2 now, that's assuming you go double running back after that. I mean, you're looking at 2 guys that you're content with, but you're not really going to be happy with all year, right? You want to make sure you solidify your running back early, and you want to make sure that you get a guy that you can trust. I know you kind of have some reservations about Cook and Kamara. I don't. I think Kamara's in for a bounce back year. I think he's going to be fine. Dalvin Cook, sure, he gets injured a lot. It could happen. But the reward is so much greater than the risk, because if he plays all 16 games, you're looking at a guy that's at least top 3 who could potentially push for a top 1 running back in your league. And he's a league winner. It is what it is. So that's why I'm not going to be a guy that's going to pick a Michael Thomas early, because it never fails that when I do, and I look at my team at the end of the draft, I don't like my running backs. I never do. It doesn't matter if my next 3 picks are running backs. I'm not happy with my running backs. So I always say solidify that running back 1. Get somebody you're going to be confident in, that you know you can put your team on its back for the whole season.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I feel that. I would definitely have to lean with Kamara and Cook over Michael Thomas, just because, when you select a guy as good as and consistent as Michael Thomas is, that's a great point. Your running backs are going to be somewhat lacking, because the position goes really quick. And with more and more people catching on to what I think is pretty obvious to me, a pretty obvious trend at this point, because they're just, with the NFL, there's less and less workhorse guys out there, less and less trustworthy running backs. But the good news about, the good news about that is it's the mold for workhorse is changing. For example, Alvin Kamara, if this was 10 years ago, probably wouldn't be the stud he is today. And even with CMC, probably wouldn't be on the field as much.
Right.
So we're still having workhorses, just not in the conventional sense. We're not having as many of those big bruisers like LT, Priest, Holmes back in the day type thing.
Right.
And so it's just the mold's kind of changing. And so with that, Michael Thomas I would still take in round 1, but probably not until the later half of it, which is what we're going to get into next here. And the running backs that usually go at this point in the draft are Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Kenyon Drake, Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones. A lot of those guys in that group, and that's a good point. Now Clyde Edwards-Helaire has jumped into that group with Damian Williams opting out. So a lot of options there in which you could go running back. However, there are a few that I would be a little nervous about. A lot of times, I definitely, if I have that first top 6 pick, I'm going running back. But if I'm in the back half of the draft, I'm definitely considering going running back receiver, because you could get a guy like, let's say, a Josh Jacobs and pair him with, let's say, a Devontae Adams or a DeAndre Hopkins, and I'd feel great about that to start my draft, because then in round 3, your RB2 won't be as good, but you'll have an ace WR1, somebody that's going to be really, really solid for you all year long, and less injury risk than if you go running back.
So here's my thing about that, to that point, and I'm going to kind of compound on what I was just talking about. Because even at the end of the first round, even if only Michael Thomas was the only receiver taken, you're still going to catch me taking 2 running backs. And here's why. You hit on a point where you said you might pick 2 running backs that you're kind of okay with, or you might have a little bit of uncertainty about. Okay? So to that point, what I say is I would rather have 2 running backs that I have a little bit of uncertainty about, but I know that they're still going to be very key roles in their offense. I know they're still going to catch passes out of the backfield, and I know they're still going to get plenty of touches. I would much rather have that than let's say you have the 11th, 12th pick, come rounds 3 or 4, now you're looking at picking guys that you have a lot of uncertainty with, and guys that you're actually scared to pick, but you're feeling like you're picking them because now, I need a running back, right? Because I passed on running back, so now I need a running back, because if I don't pick a running back, then the next time it comes to me again, it's going to be all garbage, right? And it always gets to that point in round 6 or 7. If you haven't solidified at least 2 running backs, if you're looking to get your RB2, by that point, you're screwed.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. That's obvious.
You're going to be looking at the free agent wire all year, scrambling, trying to pick up running backs every week, whereas the wide receiver depth listen, the wide receiver depth every single year feels like it gets more and more and more. I've done probably at least 200 mock drafts by now. And in every single mock draft, it never fails.
Same.
Every single pick in every single round, I could pick at least 2 or 3 wide receivers that I would be perfectly fine with picking at the spot that I'm picking at and their ADP. Perfectly fine with it. Right?
Yep.
So in my I don't feel like you need an ace wide receiver to win a championship. I think if you solidify your running backs early and you get that positional advantage, right? And you know that you don't have to scramble unless you get injuries. And of course that happens. But I know that if I pick 3 guys that are solid, that don't get hurt, and I don't have to worry about picking running backs all year, but I can look through free agents, and every single week I can find a wide receiver, maybe a wide receiver 2 that can give me. I can look every single week in the waiver wire and find a wide receiver that can give me 10 points possibly, right? You can't say that about running backs. And that's why for me personally, I actually try to go running back if the right players fall to me. I try not to reach, but I try to go running back, then start on my wide receivers because I want to make sure that I get that positional advantage at running back that I know that no one else can have. If I get that positional advantage, I know no one else can counter that. Maybe one other person if they did the same exact thing as me. Whereas someone else might have a positional advantage at wide receiver, but who cares? At the end of the day, who cares?
And I thought I was high on running backs. God dang, we got this man over here preaching the triple threat plan at running back.
All I'm saying is, in my first 4 picks, if I can't help it, I want 3 running backs. And the reason why is because something you just hit on. Guys, we might have, 5 or 6 true workhorse running backs now? Everyone is in a committee, and it's going to get worse and worse. It's going to get to the point where every single team wants a committee. So you really have to get those guys now that are getting the majority of the carries, the majority of maybe the passes. I mean, you got you guys like Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb who aren't going to get a lot of catches out of the backfield, but they provide so much depth near the goal line, and they get so much volume when it comes to carries that they make up for it. But you got to get those guys that are getting touches that are on the field, because if you don't early, by the time it gets to rounds 5 and 6 even, you're looking at guys that you're thinking, I mean, they might be okay, and now I got to pick them because they're a running back, and you start really feeling like you're starting to reach now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, here's my thing on it. Like, you really dove deep there, and which is good, but I just feel like, I almost feel like in a way, I'm not saying you panic, but it's just like, I don't know. I feel like the running back pool isn't quite as bad later as you were saying. It's because, like, you can still, for example, in round 3, I get it. The running backs in round 3 aren't quite as good. However, in the recent mock I did, you can still get guys like Leonard Fournette sometimes falls around 3. Melvin Gordon is somebody I'm feel pretty good about right in round 3. Chris Carson.
Oh, yeah.
Even guys like David Johnson and David Montgomery. Not that they're great options in the 3rd round, but they're guys that you can take there and not feel that bad about, especially if you've already secured, let's say, a Devontae Adams, a Tyreek Hill, or a DeAndre Hopkins, or even a Julio Jones. Not someone I'm as big on, but I mean, hey, I just feel like I don't really trust. There are certain players that I just don't really trust per se. Like, for example, Kenyon Drake. Is Kenyon Drake the real deal? I don't know.
We don't know.
Miles Sanders, is he really a workhorse? I don't know. I'd rather not risk it with one of those guys. I mean, there are some guys I trust, though, in this range. Right now, Josh Jacobs. I'm a huge Jacobs truther. He's somebody, if he's there, the mid to late first, grab him. Grab Josh Jacobs all day, every day. Same goes for Austin Eckler. Because Austin Eckler, we touched on, like Alvin Kamara not being a traditional workhorse. Neither is Austin Eckler, but Austin Eckler is going to rack up the touches. He's the best offensive player on the Chargers. He's going to get all the touches he can handle. I mean, he's going to get tons of targets. He's going to get more carries this year with Melvin Gordon out the door. I mean, to me, Jacobs and Eckler, if you could possibly pair those two together, that's a league-winning combo right there.
Now, I agree with you. I agree with everything you're saying. And look, this is why you also need to be prepared to what's what I'm looking for? You need to be prepared to adjust in your drafts. If I'm the 2nd pick of the draft and I get Saquon or Christian McCaffrey, and it's almost all running backs that get picked all the way up to me, then yeah, I'm going to take a wide receiver, because you're going to be looking at I mean, possibly guys like Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins. If they're going all running backs, you're going to be looking at one of those guys, Julio even, at that pick. Yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to take them if they take every single running back ahead that I like. But that's not gonna happen. What's gonna happen is the Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hills, Michael Thomas, they're all gonna get picked towards that end of the first, start of the second round. And so I'm perfectly fine with, by the time it gets back to me, getting an Aaron Jones, getting possibly a Todd Gurley, kind of, maybe a Leonard Fournette.
Yeah,
And
I was
then-
say Fournette over Gurley for
and
me.
then securing maybe, and then now a lot of times I'll secure my wide receiver one in the third round. Give me a Kenny Galladay all day. Give me a DJ Moore all day. Give me an Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen. I know you don't like Adam Thielen that much. I still do. Give me one of those guys in my wide receiver one all day if it means that I can secure my 2 running backs and my flex. Because once again, you have a way better chance of finding wide receivers late that can give you somewhat of the same production as the wide receivers that you're picking in those first couple rounds than you do of finding running backs later on that are going to give you anything kind of like the running backs that you're picking in the first couple rounds. And
Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm
I
at.
feel you. The thing is, I don't really want a running back in my flex. Honestly, in PPR leagues, I personally prefer to have usually a wide receiver in my
Okay.
flex.
And that's kind of where everybody's different, has different opinions on how you want to run your team. Look, if you want, hey, I'm not hating on nobody that runs a wide receiver in their flex, because if you have 3 stud wide receivers, then yeah, you're giving yourself a good chance at winning every week. To me, man, if you can give me 3 solid running backs that are getting carries, getting goal line carries, getting catches out the backfield for their team, sign me up all day, every day. I'm taking that 10
okay.
times out
Yeah,
of 10.
and you do have a point, I guess. Also, like if one of them would happen to go down, then boom, you have 2.
Right.
But it's just the only thing is though, I feel like then you're just a little vulnerable at the receiver spot because you can take 3 back to back. However, the receivers tend to get thinned out in those mid rounds. A lot of times you can't really get secure like an amazing receiving core, which I just like a balanced squad. That's
Right,
just
I
how I
understand.
roll, and that's how I preach the field. Try and get a balanced squad. A lot of times, but I will say this about running backs. So we're gonna have to kind of get a move on this thing, kind of talk about more the mid rounds. We've been preaching about the early rounds, which is
Which
this
is the
is
most
good.
important
Yeah,
part.
it
It's
is the most
everybody's favorite
important.
part of the draft.
Yeah, and that's the part you have to nail down. I will say this before we move on. Take 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds.
Please.
If you do not,
Please.
you will regret it because I've done the receivers thing and
Yep.
just the dub back-to-back receivers and then the running back. Or I've even done 3 receivers in a row and I hated the
Have
team
you tried
afterwards.
doing a no running back strategy yet in a mock?
I think I did actually, and man, I
I-
hated it.
look-
I had like Matt Breida and Rojo, and I was like, never again. Like,
Mine
this
were a
is-
little
this
bit
is
better.
just
I actually was able to.
brutal.
I actually was able to get.
And Darius Geis or something.
I
there's
was
no
actually
thing.
able to get Jonathan Taylor and Matt Breida, and I was okay with it. Now I would not do that or suggest it, but I was able to have Jonathan Taylor and Matt Breida, who could end up being 2 very solid running backs, especially in the second half of the year. But then I had like Patrick Mahomes, I had Kelsey, and then I believe I had 2 solid wide receivers with like Kenny Galladay, and I forgot, maybe it was DJ Moore, Allen Robinson. Like it was a solid squad, but once again, I felt like it may not win a championship because my running back depth was lacking so bad, and I've just seen it too many times where guys lose championships because their running backs stink, and
Yeah.
I've run into that problem, and so yeah, it's just everybody's different when it comes to. I'm definitely not going to hate on anybody that wants to go running back, wide receiver, or running back, wide receiver. Definitely no hate on that because I get it. I used to do that all the time. It's just as I've kind of, I guess the word evolved, as I've been a fantasy football player for years, I'm kind of at the point now where I feel like as much trial and error as I've been through, just this year specifically, man, I'm ready to go all in on running backs and try to secure 3 of them in the first 4 rounds if I'm comfortable with them. Again, like I said, don't go out there reaching, don't go trying to pick, Jonathan Taylor in the second round thinking that you absolutely need a running back. Like pick guys that you're comfortable with, and if there's a wide receiver that falls to you, then he falls to you. Dude, if you're picking the 7th pick and Michael Thomas makes it back around to you somehow, maybe everyone's drunk at that draft, I don't know. But if he somehow makes it back to you there, yeah, 10 times out of 10, I'm going to pick Michael Thomas. But again, guys, just make sure you kind of make your own rankings and kind of, pick who you're comfortable with. That's kind of all I got to say.
Yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, go with your gut, but for people watching our show, is they kind of want to get a guide for what
Right,
to do, and
right.
so with that, I would just say definitely And for those wondering, like, what three, if I want to, like I said, three, what three would you target type thing? And my three, if I would do this strategy, which I'd hardly ever do, but if in a dream scenario, I'd say three that would be a nice start would be Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler, and Melvin Gordon. Like, if I could somehow secure those three together, I would definitely do it. And some other ones I find myself taking, I find myself, if I'm picking, like, around the end of the second round, Leonard Fournette, to me, is going to be a league winner. Because, to me, Fournette could easily be going up there with Drake and Miles Sanders.
Okay.
But I don't trust Drake and Miles Sanders. I don't trust either one of those guys. But I feel like Fournette, I mean, I'm not a huge Fournette believer. I'm not putting a lot of trust in him. But I feel like I'm trust him enough to be a good value pick in the late second, early third. Exactly. I mean, I think he's right up there with Joe Mixon. And I mean, Joe Mixon goes usually in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Leonard Fournette as long as he can stay on the field. You know, it's the problem is that you can't rely on him to stay on the field. Now, I'm with you. This year specifically, I'm okay with picking him.
He's got a lot to prove this year.
Yeah, and I've been seeing him go like kind of mid, early, anywhere in that third round is normally where he's going. And I'm perfectly fine with having. I mean, for me, I'm picking probably 2 running backs early. If you can give me Leonard Fournette in my flex, I mean, I'm taking that all day. Right? And then, let's say you're picking at the end of that first round. You already picked 2 running backs. Now you got Leonard Fournette. Now you have your pick of so many valuable wide receivers that are still there that you can snag that good, solid wide receiver 1. And by the time it comes back to you, trust me, there will be plenty of wide receiver value there for you to have. You'll have 3 or 4 guys on your list that you're like, oh, man, I'm trying to decide who to choose from. That's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
When you're looking at your wide receiver 2 in what am I talking about now? The 6th round?
Yeah,
that's a great opportunity to have.
For sure, yeah. It is a bit of a gamble, but I mean, of course, it don't matter what strategy you do. If you're playing with experienced players,
it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, yep. Exactly. Yeah,
that's your league every year.
Yeah. So before we cap off round 2, we discussed the receivers. Which ones? The only other ones I'd say Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Kenny Golladay. You can make a case for in round 2, and then we'll have to touch on this foursome because I feel like these 4. They can either win you a league or cost you a league, and that's Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. If drafted at good value, these guys could actually do it for you. These guys could pop off and be the piece you need in round 3 to push you over the top. However, a lot of times these guys get reached on, and in your regular 12-man PPR, I would not touch either of the 4 in round 2.
Right. So let me say this. I've done a few mocks where I've tried out picking the combination of Mahomes and Kelce. Because if I'm going to pick Kelce, I'm going to make sure that I'm picking Mahomes. And that would be because I don't do that either. Most drafts, I don't pick tight ends until way later. But sometimes Kelce falls a little bit. And if I've gotten a Christian McCaffrey or a Saquon Barkley, yes, there's great running back and wide receiver value more than likely.
So this is where you'll break your own rule then?
It's where I will think about it.
Yeah, but then you'd only have 1 running back in your first 3 picks.
Exactly.
I would be a little nervous about that.
So I would completely break my rule. But then again, it's something that I've probably said I'm probably not going to do.
Yeah.
But I've tried it a couple times on mock drafts just because I wanted to see. And a lot of times when I finish it, I am happy with my starting lineup. And this is the problem that I always have. And I feel like every single person that drafts a Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Kittle, something like that, every time you draft them early, it never fails. You really like your starting lineup. It looks scary. But then you get to the bench and you're not happy with it. You feel like it could be so much better. And the reason why it can be so much better is because when you pick those guys, you could have picked value at running back and wide receiver.
Exactly.
Where later on, when other people aren't happy with their depth, you're happy with your depth. But I'll say this. Your starting lineup is going to look good. It's going to look scary. And if they can stay healthy all year and you can get all those guys rolling at the same time, you could absolutely win a championship doing that strategy, especially if you have the Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce stack. I think it's to me, it's the best stack you can have in fantasy football. And so I'm talking for quarterback and tight end.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's quarterback wide receivers that are better. But, I'm just saying, man, I think you could win a league like that, but I think a lot of things would have to go right for you. And it's too much risk for me. That's why I don't think I would do it.
I was touching on stacks. I don't worry usually too much about stacks. Like, I mean, if it happens, it happens. But I
Right.
mean, Mahomes and Kittle to me would be perfectly fine. Like,
Oh
that's
yeah, yeah. I love Kittle.
and yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Absolutely.
nothing against. Like, I mean, if you like stacking player, that I'm not. I don't feel like it's a bad move. But you definitely don't want to stack too many. Like,
Oh
I
yes.
definitely wouldn't
Yep.
want to stack like Mahomes. Well, I don't think you could because none of you couldn't draft all three. But like Hill, Kelsey, Mahomes, I wouldn't want that much
Yeah, that'd be
in the
hard to do.
Chiefs offense type thing. Yeah, but
Yeah.
like as good as the offense is, just because. I don't know. I don't like putting all my eggs in one basket
Right.
because if
Right. Of course.
Mahomes gets injured, then there goes Hill,
Right.
there goes Kelsey, So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
and
agree.
then but I feel like if any of those four would fall to like the middle of the third round, they're just too good to pass on. Like, I mean, as much as I like the
Yeah.
guys like DJ Moore, Melvin Gordon, like those are both really good guys, and it would be tough to pass on them, but it would also be tough to pass on like a Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson if he would slip through to the middle of the third, just because you get such a positional advantage at QB.
Yeah, you do. The problem though with that is that last year so many people won championships picking up Lamar off of free agency. I'm one of them. One of the championships I won last year was because I picked Lamar up off of free agency, and the rest of my team was already solid, and I just started blowing everyone out, right? So, but the reason for that is because the value that you get from getting a Lamar Jackson in free agency, undrafted, and now he's coming out. He's the number one quarterback in the league. The value there, it's humongous. Now you're drafting him late second round, early third round. Now you're hoping that he gives you those 30 to 35 points a game to where his value is even now. So I'm not hating on anybody for drafting him. I'm just not going to do it because now I'm giving myself actually more of a risk this year. Because if he doesn't give me the 30 to 35 points and I don't get that positional advantage that I thought I was going to get, and I don't have depth that I like, you're screwed.
Right, yeah,
You
Lamar,
messed yourself up.
honestly, yeah, I'm not really feeling Lamar this year. I wouldn't take him. I'd say even like the late third because I feel
Right.
like, yeah, the early third is just a little too obvious. Somebody I feel like is due for some regression.
It's possible, yeah.
And
And
so,
I hate to say it, I don't wish injury on anybody, but the way he runs, it has to be coming. You have to think that some sort of injury is coming because, I mean, he's electrifying. He's nasty. He jukes like crazy. Some big pop is coming. You know what I'm saying? Like someone's gonna get a hold of him, and I hope it doesn't happen. I really do. I love watching him play, but it scares me to know that if that I pick my quarterback that early and he runs as much as he does and doesn't go down because he's making running back moves. That just
yeah,
scares
I
me.
will give him this. He's a fairly smart runner. Like,
He
he's
is.
not
Oh yeah,
reckless like Cam
he is.
Newton was back in the day, but he definitely is a little more injury prone than let's
He's so
say like a
skinny,
Drew
man.
Brees,
He's just so
typical
skinny.
pocket passer type thing. And so
Yep.
yeah, I'd say all right. So let's we touched on those four, and then the rest of the third round, I would say is definitely made up of mainly of running backs for sure. We kind of touched on all those earlier: Ty Gurley, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, Chris Carson. David Montgomery type of thing. I mean, Montgomery's a little high. The third's a little high for him, I will admit, but I definitely see him bouncing back in a big way with the Bears. The Bears have to be better by default. I feel
Right.
like they bottomed out last year, and the ones who I feel like a couple that are just to me getting way overdrafted. There is no way I touch these guys in round three, but yet a lot of times they'll go that high because people panic and reach for running backs, and that's James Conner and Le'Veon Bell. To me, both of these guys have way too many red flags
Yep.
to draft anywhere near the third round.
So the only time that I've touched James Conner and Le'Veon Bell is when they've fallen to the fifth round. It happens, but it doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I was about to say if that happens, I wouldn't
Um,
really care. Then they're probably your RB3, and you're not really
Right.
banking on them.
Which even
At that
then,
point, you're just getting a good value
Right.
ADP wise, but it's still they're not, to me. It's just I don't really like either one, man. I feel like Connor is
enough.
more the injuries, not necessarily the offense, just the injuries. It seems like he's just constantly injured. And Bell, it's the system and just the fact that he looked done last year.
Yeah.
Bell just looked like he looked washed, and
Yeah.
I mean Adam Gase is clearly not a fan, and just
Right.
all the just and then his efficiency was just beyond belief how bad it was. The one thing he has going for him is he still caught a lot of passes, but I think that could maybe even go down this year because that he might not be on the field as much, and then Sam Darnold will be throwing it up, has more weapons. Like Bell is somebody that's a hard no for me.
Yeah, me too. Even the passes he was catching, they weren't really going for anything.
No.
So I agree with you. I would take Connor over Bell. I don't even think I've drafted Bell at all so far in a mock. I don't even look at his name anymore. I really just
Yeah, I
don't
don't
want anything
either.
to do with
He's
him.
garbage.
But I do want to
feel
touch
like.
on David Montgomery. You brought him up.
Yeah, he's somebody I feel like that could be a league winner in rounds 3 and 4.
I agree. Look, here's the deal. It has nothing to do with David Montgomery. His talent, look, if you watched him last year, his talent is ridiculous. He's got so much upside when it comes to talent. The problem is Matt Nagy. He's so inconsistent when it comes to giving him the ball. He doesn't know if he wants to give him the ball. He doesn't know if he wants to give it to Tariq Cohen. And I understand you have Tariq Cohen. I love him.
Oh, as far as like
He's a
carries,
playmaker.
it's definitely Montgomery. I think
Right.
it's more the game script thing. I think Nagy sometimes he doesn't want to commit to the run and he'll panic and want to lean on Trubisky. But you would think he'd have enough common sense to lean on Montgomery. And
Well,
this year,
you
and
would
the
think.
good thing is Nick Foles is in Chicago now. Nick Foles will have the brains to know I've got to hand this ball off more. Like and Trubisky though was clueless. I mean, Trubisky running the show last year was a disaster. I mean, it was just a constant just when they'd get down, he'd panic and just it was just a mess. I mean, so I feel like if Foles gets in there, which I think it'll be sooner rather than later, I'll probably start with Trubisky and once he craps the bed the first couple weeks, Foles will insert Foles, and then because if Foles would be it if it wasn't for COVID. But with COVID factoring in, I still think Foles will have the job by week 3. And then once Foles gets the job, I feel like the offense as a whole will be a lot more efficient, and Montgomery
So you're giving it 3 weeks?
will blossom. Yeah, so if he gets off to a rocky start, yeah, because of Nagy. I think it's Nagy. I mean, if it wasn't for Nagy's BS of loving Mitchell Trubisky, I'd feel even better about Montgomery.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, yeah, lock him in as a third rounder. But because of that and the Bears being as suspect as they are, I'd probably rather Montgomery in the 4th.
Yeah.
And which is where a lot of times in the 4th.
It's normally where he goes.
Mhm.
He went early in this draft.
Yeah, I
Normally
decided
he
to
goes in
grab
the
him
4th.
with the running backs all
you
getting
got him.
swiped up. Yeah. And so with the receiver pool, I feel like this round 4 is a hot spot for landing in a WR2 with upside. For example, A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley. God, those are 2 of my favorites to target in the round 4 as upside W4s. And also guys that could bounce back. Guy like Juju Smith-Schuster. Even Adam Thielen is an option. I'm not really feeling him in round 4. But Odell is an option. Juju. I feel like Thielen and Odell have too much risk. Juju, though, I like here for sure. And then, of course, Allen Robinson and DJ Moore would be steals at this point in round 4. And 2 guys, actually, these are the 2 that I should have touched on already. Because to me, these guys are a lot of times are worth a third rounder. But they slip to the 4th more times than not. And it's Amari Cooper and Cooper Kupp. To me, these 2.
I agree with one of those.
These 2 are good in the 4th, and I know which one you're probably going to agree with, and that's Cooper Kupp. Yep, because that's the thing. Amari Cooper is a player that, if you're a longtime fantasy player like Josh and I, is very frustrating because he's so inconsistent. For people that are more casual, will be like, oh, look at his numbers. He puts up good numbers, which he
In the first
does.
half.
By the end of the year, his numbers usually end up okay. But the problem is, during the season, it's going to be a roller coaster. One week he's going to catch 10 passes for 150 yards. The next week he'll catch 1 for 20.
Yep.
That is what it is. And because of that, I'm not super high on Cooper. But because of those big games that win you a lot of weeks when he goes off, and he's in a pass-first Cowboys offense, I feel like he's somebody that's too good to pass up on in round 4.
But the biggest problem with the whole roller coaster thing is that it always seems to be on the downside in the fantasy playoffs. And that is what is the most frustrating part of Amari Cooper. Look, it's not even like a coincidence anymore. It happens every year, no matter what team
Actually,
he's on.
Cooper, I would recommend trading him after one of his boom games because how
Right.
a lot of players are, and you're like, oh yeah, he's good, he's the real deal. Like a lot of people were buying him last year as an elite WR1, and if you could have traded him for an example, you could have traded him for a DJ Moore,
Right.
and then you'd have come out like a bandit because DJ Moore had a huge second half.
Right. So I was looking at this list while you were talking about it. I know you're going to completely disagree. I know how high you are on A.J. Brown, and I get it. But A.J. Brown being drafted before Allen Robinson, being drafted before Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, and Robert Woods makes me actually want to cry right now in the middle of this show. Hey, look, I like A.J. Brown.
And that was my pick in the mock last night.
I think A.J. Brown
That's
is
funny.
one of the most talented young wide receivers that's in this league. But in that system, with that quarterback, I'm good. I'm okay.
What, that
Look,
quarterback? He was one of
hey,
the. I'm
look,
not saying he's gonna keep up what he did down
look,
the stretch last year, but Ryan Tannehill, put some respect on his name. He's
hey,
actually was
hey,
very good last
he
season.
was good for a little bit, but if you're expecting me or if you're wanting me to expect and hope that because I'm picking AJ Brown that early in the fourth round, I got to put my hope that they're not first of all gonna run the ball 30 times with Derrick Henry, and then that they're gonna pass the ball enough
There's just nothing
with
there.
accuracy and consistency and efficiency for AJ Brown to give me that kind of return. I can't do it.
There's
can't
just nothing.
physically do it.
The reason I like AJ at this point is because there's nothing else there outside of him, really. Like the rest of the Titans receiving core is barren. So and that's why
Wait,
I'm
right
not
here?
a huge fan of Tannehill.
Oh, you're talking
For
about
fantasy.
in Tennessee.
Yeah, in Tennessee.
I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
I
not a
get
huge
it.
fan of Tannehill because of that.
Hey, don't be surprised
But
if
I
Giannis
feel
Smith
like
takes a lot of targets away this year. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, he
Don't
could
be
come in, but
surprised.
AJ Brown's still gonna be the guy. I feel like. I mean, because Corey Davis is garbage.
He is.
I mean,
but
so,
I don't. Just to me, that's not saying much in that offense. Like Allen Robinson's the guy.
Yep.
Cooper Kupp
I couldn't do
and
two
Robert Woods
Bears
are
on
both-
one fantasy team.
Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are both the guys.
Yeah,
Like,
now that I
both of
look
them are
back on it,
ridiculous.
definitely Cooper Kupp could have been. However, with Woods, though, I mean, Cooper Kupp did not do as well down the stretch last year.
Oh man, look, Cooper Kupp was. I believe he was the number 5 wide receiver, and even down.
But yeah,
I
I
mean, it
still
wasn't
believe
like-
in Cooper Kupp. I mean, I think he could still finish as a WR1 for sure. But a Higbee with him emerging too, him and Woods were the target hogs down the stretch. I think
Yeah,
Kupp
I mean-
will reclaim
Well,
his
that's
role.
why I said Woods also.
However-
I'd be fine with either one of those.
Yeah, they're both solid. It's just
But
I don't know.
Allen
And then-
Robinson, I think. Oh man, Allen
Yeah, I
Robinson
mean,
is
he's-
so good, man, and he's bona
Again,
fide
it's
number one.
the system. I mean, yeah, you say about the Titan system. I mean, the Bear system is not
It's
very
better than the Titans
ideal.
when it comes to passing, though. You know what
Ooh,
I'm
I
saying?
don't know.
It's I mean,
with
like you
Foles
said,
in there, it might not be as bad. And
well, because like you said, he's so quick to let Trubisky just chuck the ball down the field 40 times.
But Trubisky's not going to be there long, and you insert Nick Foles game manager, and I don't know if A-Rob's going to put up quite as high a stats, and then Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods will be kind of, and Jared Goff, he can have his off days, and just, yeah, I mean,
don't know.
there's,
I
to
still
me,
trust those guys more than I trust Tannehill, just for me personally.
yeah,
I
just
love
feel like,
AJ Brown's talent though.
yeah, I can say this. I mean, A.J. Brown probably does have a little more risk tied to him, but he definitely has the highest ceiling out of any of these guys we're talking about right now. I'd say him and Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley's got a really high ceiling, being that the Falcons have a lot of vacated targets. And the fact that, I mean, hey, if something, in the off chance something happens to Julio, y'all, Calvin Ridley
he
is
could.
going to blow the F up. I mean, and no Julio. I mean, I'm not saying Julio's going to get injured. I'm not trying to be negative
just saying
toward
if,
Julio,
yeah.
but I don't know, though. Julio has a lot of miles on the tires. Julio could, I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, it's kind of like AB in Pittsburgh. I mean, he flamed out. I'm not saying Julio's going to flame out or anything as far as his attitude, but I mean, as far as him getting a little older, the way, in AB and Juju, it kind of reminds me, Juju, when he popped off, AB was still putting up numbers. So, I mean,
Right.
Ridley could pop off and we could still have Julio putting up WR1 numbers.
Yeah, I'm okay with Ridley. Basically, where he went right now, I would have myself picked Robert Woods before Ridley, but
Whew, I
But-
couldn't have done that one.
but I like Ridley. But we're definitely.
Robert
I think
Woods.
we're
Wow,
definitely.
I got one for you, and I think this is a guy you like too.
Okay.
And I have nothing against Robert Woods. I've actually had to put some respect on his name because earlier in the offseason, I was like, Robert Woods, he's just a
Look
possession
at the
receiver.
numbers,
He's not
man.
that good. But once I really dove deeper, I was like, yeah, Robert Woods is rock solid. I got to put some respect on his name. But I still will say this. A guy that, and he usually goes way later than Woods, but he's a guy that, even to this day, I'd probably still have to give a slight edge to him on draft day, is Cortland Sutton.
Okay.
I like Cortland Sutton this year, and he's somebody in the mid rounds. He's a receiver that you can target, and it could end up being a bargain. A lot of times you can get him as your third receiver, and I mean he to me I feel like a shoe-in to be a WR2 this year. And if I would draft him something as high as round 4 on a lot of draft nights, I actually had this decision in the IG Experts League: Cortland Sutton, Odell Beckham Jr. Give me Cortland Sutton. I'm not touching Odell Beckham Jr. Screw that, man. All the risk. I mean,
Ooh,
I don't know. I mean,
I
in
don't
Woods just to me doesn't have enough upside. Sutton to me has a safe floor as well as a fairly high ceiling. I feel like he has Like Odell's a ceiling guy, Woods is a floor guy. Sutton, I feel like, is the best of both.
So, I love Courtland Sutton as a player. I love Courtland Sutton as a person. And I like the fact that he is dropping in drafts because it's making me feel a little bit more comfortable drafting him where he is because he was originally getting drafted in in the midsummer, early summer. He was getting drafted.
He was
mid
getting
third
up
round.
high. Yeah, I was like, I mean, I like him,
And
but
I
not
wasn't
quite that
feeling
high.
that
Yeah,
at all
exactly.
because
Now he's plummeted
because
as far
as
as
good
ADP.
as a young receiver as I think he is, and as much as I like Drew Lock, I'm on the Drew Lock train. I think Drew Lock is gonna keep getting better. I think he's really good. You can't ignore the fact that ever since Drew Lock came into the lineup and started playing every game, their connection has not been good. It wasn't good.
It was
at the
only
end of the
5
season.
games.
But you can't ignore that. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Well, they had a couple good. Yeah, 2
that's
out
my
of
thing.
5 were,
so
were all right.
so what I'm saying is I agree with you that having him as my wide receiver 2, I'd be fine with that. But what I'm saying is he was being drafted as a wide receiver 1, and that's where I wasn't okay with it. But I'm glad that
I wouldn't want him as a WR1.
right. I'm glad that he's
yeah.
dropping, and now you can get him as your wide receiver 2. You might even be able to get him as a flex. And,
Right, and that's a steal,
right,
I feel
and
like.
at that point, I'm fine with it. As far as taking him over Odell, I don't know.
I had to do it, man.
Look, I understand.
What makes you confident in Odell? I
nothing ever makes me confident in Odell. The thing is if you want to talk about a high ceiling and a high reward, it's Odell because he's one of those players now. You're not having to pick him in the late first, early second round. You're able to pick this guy in the 4th, maybe 5th round, and you're talking about a guy that could finish as he has wide receiver 1 talent, overall wide receiver 1 talent.
I don't know if he does anymore, man. He's had a lot of injuries these past couple of years.
No.
He has not been the
absolutely
same since that broken ankle.
Now,
I'm just saying, y'all. I mean, I'm not trying to hate on Odell, but he has not been anywhere near that level of production.
That because he's with the Browns, he might not. That's fine. I'm fine with that. If you want to say, hey, I don't trust him in the Browns offense, I don't trust him with Baker Mayfield as quarterback, that's absolutely fine. I get it. I understand it. Pass on him. Mm-hmm. But as far as Odell Beckham as a talent, as much as I don't like the guy nowadays, like he's
he's kind of a diva.
He's a diva. As much as I don't really like him, look, you're getting him in the 4th, 5th round, dude. This guy is still one of the most talented wide receivers in the league. He just is, and that's a steal if he actually gets his act together. If him and Baker can get a connection, you're getting essentially the steal of the draft.
I will say this. So let's date not talking about. I mean, he hadn't last year he was really down, but his 2018 year was actually pretty solid. If I'm being honest, he did. The thing is though, he missed games during that too down the stretch, and so I just he might be. It's kind of like the Todd Gurley thing. I feel like to me, Odell and Gurley are similar in the fact that they could pop off. They could end up being steals of the draft, but I feel like at some point they're gonna give you a headache. I feel like at some point they're gonna get injured. Like they're just guys that I don't trust. I have certain guys like I'm no doctor, but I feel like I'm pretty good at gauging whether someone's injury prone or not. And Odell and Gurley, to me, just scream injury prone. And I just, when their injury concern screams that loudly at me, a lot of times I go the other way on draft day because it's just, I don't want to have that headache.
But that's exactly why now that you're getting them at a premium price, if they pop off, they're the steal of the draft. That's why, why these guys aren't being taken in the 2nd round or the 3rd round. Well, maybe Gurley is, but not Odell. That's why he's not being taken in the 3rd round. He's not being taken till the end of the 4th and the beginning of the 5th round. The reason for that is because of the lack of connection with Baker and because of the injury proneness.
Yeah, another thing is the Browns run first offense. Like, I don't feel like he's going to hit that ceiling being in that Stefanski-led run first attack.
But again, getting him where you're getting him, you have a chance where if this guy pops off, you're getting a clear wide receiver 1 and you're getting a top 5 wide receiver at that position. Granted, look, the risk is high. I get it. It is high. What I'm saying is I'm not going to blame someone for taking him in that late 4th, early 5th round because, again, if he comes back to old Odell, I don't know if it could be Jarvis getting under his skin. It could be him and Baker just lighting a fire and saying, you know what, we're going to finally do this. If they do, dude, you that's a league winner right there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a huge steal where he's being drafted. So Yeah, if you're trying to draft him in the third round, then yeah, you're reaching, But if you can give him to me in the beginning of the fifth, I'm taking it. Like, you can give him to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I got you. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's bad value, but it's just a lot of times if it's a coin flip, I go with the young guy. A lot of times,
Yeah.
and Sutton's the young up and comer. Same with AJ Brown, Calvin Ridley. I usually like to go with the trending young players. I mean, it doesn't always work, but I feel like a lot of times it does. And if that hits, you feel really good. I feel like I nailed the next. The future rather than paying for past production was something I say to avoid at all costs. But
I want to ask you something real quick. Okay, so let's say we go with my 3 running back strategy where it's running back, running back, running back. You have 3 running backs that you're perfectly fine with. And now, late 4th, early 5th, you can get a Robert Woods and an Odell Beckham as your 2 wide receivers. You're telling me you wouldn't be excited about
sick.
that? Oh, man. Dude,
no,
give me
I
that
don't like it.
all day, bro. Especially if I'm looking at...
I mean, it's not, it's not awful. I don't know if it makes, but it's just... It doesn't make me feel good because it's like, I feel like something that happened with Odell. I mean, Woods will be alright, but I guess maybe... I think I got Juju in Woods I'd feel a little better about.
Wait, so you want to go back to Juju after what happened last year, but you don't want to go back to Odell? Like, that, to me, the risk is higher with Juju than it is with Odell.
Really? Juju's much younger, I feel like, and in a
yeah.
better situation, being that Pittsburgh's still going to have to throw a lot. Cleveland is just, I mean, I don't think Baker Mayfield's going to do well at all. I'm no big Ben truther either. I mean, I think Ben's way past his prime. I mean, he's washed up, but
man,
I still think he'll be able to get the ball. He'll pepper Juju with targets. They're going to throw a lot. I mean, I think Juju could bounce back this year, and he doesn't have all the off-the-field drama. I mean, Odell could opt out too.
He could? Well,
I
he
mean,
already said he's not going to opt out.
Oh, yeah.
But,
I mean, you never know. I mean, I know they say the deadline about the opt-out deadline,
Right.
but I mean, MLB players are still ain't able to opt out. Maybe NFL will be stricter, but like
I think they will.
Odell, Odell's the kind of player I just don't like to roster because with his whole his whole head being kind of cuckoo.
I get that.
He could be someone that might just say, screw it, I quit. Like, I don't like guys like that on my team. Like,
I mean, hey, look, it's the same thing where, what was it, just last year we were talking about, I don't know if we specifically hit on it, but we had so many people staying away from Tyreek Hill because of what happened, his allegations with his kid and everything. You didn't want to touch him because of the off-the-field stuff.
Right, that was the thing.
Now this year, no one's talking about it.
Well, that was the thing. I think that was kind of misreported because Tyreek Hill has never been an issue in the locker room. Tyreek Hill has never caused any drama.
But he has caused the issues off the field with his girl.
Was allegedly though. That thing is, I think it came out that that voicemail from her, I think, was a fake.
Which it very well could be. But just what I'm saying is just like how quickly we forget. You know what I'm saying? Like how quickly so many people just didn't want to touch him last year because of it. And now,
they overreacted to that, myself included.
No one even kind of says anything about it this year.
It sounded legit. It's just the Odell thing. I'm not saying he's as bad as AB, but his thing almost as a way is kind of reminiscent to AB. And I said, stay away from AB. It's a disaster waiting to happen. And sure enough, I'm so glad I did because last year, anyone that invested an early pick on AB, garbage. I mean, but basically, Odell is not on that level. I'm not trying to say Odell's a total nutcase, but he is definitely someone that is turbulent. I know we're all probably sick of hearing about him by now. So this will be my last word on Odell.
I want to say 1-2 after this.
He's my last word on Odell. I'm not saying he's going to bust at his current ADP. I'm not as down on him as I am Le'Veon Bell because his ADP has dropped significantly. However, if you are expecting him to be the Odell of old, you will be disappointed.
So the last thing that I will now say about Odell is this is the year where he's either going to completely flame out or he's going to make a resurgence.
Okay, so you're kind of all or nothing on it.
That's how I feel like it's going to be. I feel like it's going to be an all or nothing for him. And so we'll know by this time next year, we'll either be talking about him really not even being drafted that much anymore or drafted super low. or because
he's going to either pop off or have a meltdown.
Well, because it could be an AB thing. I agree with that point. To your point, I agree with that he could turn into the next AB.
Yeah.
So it could be by this time next year, he could be in AB shoes where no one wants to sign him. No one wants him to be on their team. Or he could have a huge season. He could win you your league. and then you can send me postcards and tell me.
That got Josh's recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that did not get Guru seal of approval, but hey, he can't get everything
I
right.
just don't want to
we'll
hear the
see.
hate if he pops if he isn't on a team next year.
Yep.
I don't want to hear that.
Yep. Let's see. God dang, we are rolling through this thing, man.
I mean, we hit on the most important rounds.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we really elaborate on that. So let's now briefly touch on the mid rounds and later rounds.
These are
We'll
the
try.
These are the quarterback
We'll try.
rounds, so that's good. We can talk about quarterbacks. These are quarterback
Okay, yeah, I was about to
rounds.
say, yeah, other running backs, if you would want to, I'd say, yeah, Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift are definitely guys that could suffice as your
Don't
RB2.
sleep on Kareem Hunt in the flex.
At their rookies,
Just
Kareem
saying.
Hunt, Mark Ingram, these are guys, Devin Singletary, these are
James
guys
White.
that could do something. James White, I wouldn't really feel comfortable with as my RB2, however.
At
At this point in the draft, if we're talking middle rounds, he's had a pretty good price. Yeah, for sure. All right, and so we touched a lot on receivers here. So yeah, let's shift gears to quarterbacks. We haven't done them much justice other than the top two. How to tackle the quarterback position? I would say these are the two quarterbacks. If I'm in the middle rounds and if one of these falls into my lap in the 6th round,
I already know who you're gonna pick.
I'm targeting these two. And to me, they should be pretty obvious because to me, these guys are both in great situations for success. And both of these two, I feel like, have the ceilings to possibly get up there to Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. And it's Kyler Murray and Dak Prescott. I feel really good about both of them this season. Kyler, he's in the air raid run. He's going to run a lot. I feel great about Kyler. I really do. I think this is the year things are going to come together for him. Dak, too, I think is going to do well. I mean, it's a contract year. He's going to be hungry.
Again.
Mike McCarthy there. They're going to throw a lot. And, Dak, though, he does have a propensity to let people down in the fantasy playoffs.
Yep.
And so with that, that's why I'd go Kyler over him. But, he could definitely be someone to carry you to the fantasy playoffs. And if the matchup's not right, well, you might have to turn it a wire or something. But, hey, he's going to put up some big numbers this year. And then Kyler to me, he's got the green light all the way from me. I could maybe even see myself taking him in round 5. He's got all the upside in the world. Wouldn't shock me one bit if he finishes over Lamar.
Okay.
Hot take?
It's a lot to unravel. Kyler, I love Kyler. I'm perfectly fine with anybody. I'm not going to draft him as early as he's going, but I get it, and I'm fine with anyone drafting him where he's going. I agree with you. He has the potential, especially in that offense, to be one of the top quarterbacks when it comes to fantasy. And when it comes to Dak Prescott, anyone that knows me knows I'm not the biggest fan of him.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, when we did
Look,
this is back when we were doing shows in 2018.
Yes.
You were bashing Dak Prescott.
But and I'm just not a big fan of what he does for Zeke and fantasy. But what I will say is I do understand that they're going to throw the ball a lot, just like they did last year. He's going to put up fantasy points. He's more specifically going to put up fantasy points against bad teams. So here's what I would say: if you are going to draft Dak Prescott, if you are a Dak Prescott truther, you make sure that you get yourself later on. You get yourself a Drew Brees. You get yourself a Tom Brady.
Oh,
you get yourself,
I wouldn't take two like that.
Here's why.
All right.
Because when Dak Prescott plays a good team, you do not want to start him. That's all. That's
yeah, and you can.
And the
That's the
numbers
thing. You
show
can
it, and the
usually
numbers show
find.
it.
The thing is, the good thing with that. Last year down the stretch, for example, like Fitzmagic. Fitzmagic did great those past 2 weeks, and he was
you
on the
can wait if
waiver
you want to.
wire.
That's fine.
Dak. Let's say Dak will carry you all the way through pretty much. And in the last week, if you're scared, let's say he's. I don't know the schedule right off the bat, but let's use a scenario. Let's say he's at Pittsburgh or something in the fantasy championship.
Right.
Pick up a Fitzmagic. Pick up
I will say though,
Danny Dimes or the Tannehill, somebody like a good matchup.
Right.
Type
Well, right
thing.
here, Drew Brees is going much.
Because I just
I've
feel like
seen.
if you spend picks, let's say a 6 on Dak and then an 8th on a Drew Brees, your depth is gonna suffer.
But that's the thing. Drew Brees, I've never seen Drew Brees go in the 7th round. I've seen Drew Brees going.
Yeah, he normally goes in the 8th or the 9th,
or
but
the 9th
still,
or even the 10th.
the 8th or 9th, I feel like are crucial points. I know we haven't
Right.
gotten to dive too much into those rounds, but the 8th and 9th rounds are crucial. I feel like as far as building your running back and receiver depth, and that. Unless you haven't taken a quarterback yet, but to me, if you spend a 5th or 6th round on Kyler or Dak, do not grab another quarterback till the double-digit rounds.
Yeah, these guys, none of these guys have been drafted this high that I've seen in any of my mock drafts. So
Okay, you must be doing too much Fantasy Pros.
That's why.
Sorry, what's the website?
I do
Fantasy
ESPN
Pros.
Sleeper.
They actually go. The quarterbacks go higher a lot of times than usual.
I do ESPN.
Oh,
Sleeper,
ESPN. Okay.
But that's exactly why I don't draft those guys that early, because I don't want to feel like I have to draft a guy another guy a few rounds later. That's why I don't draft those guys there. But
okay, so you're just not a Dak believer. You'd probably rather Russell Wilson
Yes.
and Deshaun Watson
Yes.
over him, which aren't bad. But I just
two
feel
reasons
like,
why. Russell Wilson, number one, is the second best quarterback in the entire league, and I understand that sometimes he has subpar.
Yeah, but not
games.
for fantasy, just because of the system. It's the unfortunate system.
He
He's in
still
with
has
stupid
the
Brian
talent.
Schottenheimer.
He still has the talent to be a top 3 quarterback every single year, and he's going to have that for the next probably 5 years. Deshaun Watson this year is kind of a boomer bust kind of play, because I personally think that, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks, so I'm a little biased. I'm just going to say it right now. But I do think that with everybody talking all the mess about, Hopkins is gone, so Watson's not going to be able to do anything. He's not going to be able to get any passes.
He'll still be able to do stuff. I don't think he'll be as consistent.
I think he's ready to come out, prove everybody wrong, and he's gonna make unbelievable plays this year. Or he's gonna get hurt because his line sucks.
Yeah, that's another thing. He's kind of injury risky, kind of like Lamar.
Right.
He's
so
not
it's a boomer
take
bust.
him as high.
I get it.
But I just, I don't know. Yeah, it's just I feel safer with Dak. I really do.
I understand someone picking Dak over Watson. That's fine. I wouldn't pick him over Russell Wilson, but I understand.
The system is just way better for fantasy. I feel like way better. Mike McCarthy any day with Brian Schottenheimer.
I want to be able to play my quarterback. I want to be able to play my quarterback every week, and I feel like I can't do that with Dak Prescott.
Really? Well, I think
can't.
It's just like in those big, like those clutch moments, he kind of seems to drop the ball. I think that's why Jerry's leery of giving him that big extension.
Yeah, and against good teams, he drops the ball. It is what it is. Like I can't start him every single week, because when he's playing a really good defense, I know I have to sit him. And I don't want to have to worry about that with my quarterback. It is what it is.
I got you. Yeah, and then other guys we could, we touched on Drew Brees, and Matt Ryan and Josh Allen are guys a lot of times that usually are in the 8th, 9th round.
Josh Allen's been slipping a lot.
That lately, I feel like could be QB1s. I feel like Allen's slipping is because the more I dive in Allen, the more he is not a good passer. However, he does run a good amount. Also a little more injury prone, and the goal line touchdowns I think could go down some, but he should do a little better as a passer this year, especially with Stephon Diggs. I feel like he'll still be a decent QB1.
He gives you the floor of a run. He gives you that running floor every week.
He's
not the best passer, but he'll be fine.
Brady too could be an option, especially with the
I've never seen Carson Wentz.
Arians offense, and then Carson Wentz been getting a lot of hate lately for some reason, and I tell y'all this. Aaron Rodgers is kind of in that range too. Matt Stafford, Danny Dimes, like the fringe QB1s. But I feel better about Wentz than any of those other ones, because I feel like Wentz, he's pretty much a lock for 4,000 yards, even with the suspect supporting cast. I feel like Rodgers is just kind of, I don't know about Rodgers, man. I feel like he's a roller coaster. I feel like he's he's kind of more low key about it. He's not really an open diva like Odell and AV, but I think he's low key kind of I don't know. He's just kind of I don't really trust Aaron Rodgers anymore. I feel like he used to kind of have a good grasp on things, like with the relax. Like back then, Rodgers was a stud, but now I feel like he's almost like becoming Brett Favre 2.0. It's like he could maybe have a resurgence, but it's just, I don't know. He could also just self-destruct. I feel like I don't trust him. But Wentz, I feel like is young, is on the right track. I feel pretty good about Wentz as a back-end QB1.
Well, I like Wentz, but if you're going to worry about any other quarterback when it comes to injury-prone, you have to worry about Wentz too the same. You just have to. Now, getting him that late, I think is a really good pick. But, again, if you're going to worry about other quarterbacks being injury-prone, you have to pretty much say the same thing about Carson Wentz. Now, when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, I think it's more so that we're starting to see for sure that Matt LaFleur has made it very clear that he just doesn't want to put the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands for most of it. He wants to take it out of his hands. He wants to put it in the hands of Aaron Jones, and I'm sure it's going to probably be in the hands of A.J. Dillon sometimes, and they still got Jamal there. So that's kind of why, to me, I'm not touching Aaron Rodgers, because I really feel like Matt LaFleur wants this team to be running back heavy. and he just doesn't want the ball.
Control the clock, play
Yeah.
defense.
He doesn't want Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball 30 to 40 times a game.
Yep, and I think that's why he can say what he wants, but I think he prompted the front office to draft Jordan Love because I feel like he can groom Jordan Love. He can teach Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers, at a certain point you can't teach an old dog new tricks, especially somebody as stubborn as Aaron Rodgers. Because they said they were butting heads last offseason, and so
no surprise.
And Rodgers stay away. I mean, and Stafford, I mean, could be something, but he's just to me too injury prone to trust concerning the back injury. I mean, to me, a good cute quarterback combo though would be like a Matt Stafford, Danny Dimes combo. Because I feel like, yeah, I do too. Because I feel like Danny Dimes is young, has upside, and in his off weeks, if he's kind of off, which he probably will be kind of up and down, he could play Stafford. But then if Stafford would get hurt, you could have Dimes in there, and hopefully by the second half, Dimes would start to get a little more consistent.
And a trend I found with Danny Dimes too last year was sometimes he would start off the game like first half, and he'd only have like 4 or 5 points. And you'd be like, oh, man, here we go.
Yeah, and he's playing catch-up, though, because his defense sucks.
And then he just starts bombing it in the second half, and he always ends up with 20 to 30 points.
Yeah, I mean, there were some weeks he didn't do all that good. I mean, he wasn't great every week. I mean, if he'd be up there with Kyler, I mean, if he was that consistent.
It was more than anyone thought it was going to be, that's for sure.
But yeah, him and then for late quarterbacks, I got to throw this man in here. Respect the mustache, baby. Oh, Gardner Minshew, y'all, the most slept on quarterback in fantasy if you're wanting somebody late. And I don't know why. I'm guessing you're more with the mainstream on this one, like just acting like he's not very good. But I think he's in a way similar to Dimes. He's like he's almost like everyone's like rushing to get Danny Dimes or hopping on that trend and they're like, all right, y'all can take y'all's little Danny Dimes. Give me Minshew late. Give me Minshew. I'll just sit back, rock the jorts in the stash with Gardner Minshew and have him as my backup quarterback because he can run. He's got legs, and then he's with the defense. He's in kind of the same boat as Danny Dimes. He's on a crappy team that's going to be playing catch up a lot, and so he's going to have to throw. He's going to have to air it out, and he's got weapons there. DJ Chark. LaVisca Chenault now there. I mean, it's not the best situation, but
that's my biggest thing. The weapons
LaVisca Chenault could be something good. I mean, D.D. Westbrook's still all right, and Chark is what? Chark is not bad, Josh. I really don't understand why you act like Chark. I tell you this, Danny Dimes has a better cast of weapons, but
way better. It's night and
they're
day.
Older, but I'm serious. Hear me out. I'm dead ass about this. DJ Chark is better this season than Darius Slayton. I mean, Darius Slayton, I like Slayton, but give me DJ Chark over Darius Slayton. D.D. Westbrook, I don't know why I'm laughing. Like, D.D. Westbrook is somebody, gosh, he was frustrating last year. But if healthy, I feel like D.D. could be just good better than Golden Tate, who's getting up there, and then Sterling Shepard's a little injury prone. He does have the positional advantage, obviously, a tight end with Ingram,
and running back.
I feel like, with Quan. I mean, Fournette. We're just talking about Fournette.
No, I love Fournette, but he's not Saquon.
But that could hurt Danny Dimes as they run the ball out, and the defense would improve.
Well, but a lot of times,
they both have bad defense.
Saquon right out the backfield, and Saquon's going to take it 70 yards.
Exactly, that hurts Danny Dimes.
Well, no, I'm talking about screen passes.
Oh yeah, sometimes on screen passes.
That's what I'm saying.
Sometimes
you can't. I mean, you can do that with Fournette, but you're not gonna get that same production you're gonna get from Saquon. Look,
right? Yeah, the offense, and that's why I'm not saying to draft Minshew over Danny Dimes. I'm just saying if people reach on Danny Dimes, Minshew's a good backup.
So here's all I gotta say about Minshew.
Because they're in similar boats.
I'm not hating on Minshew, but no, I don't think he has the targets to like really break out or anything. And that's why I'm kind of, when I say I don't understand the hype, that's what I'm talking about. It's like people are really saying that they think he's going to be like a bona fide quarterback one. And yeah, sure, it could happen.
I'm not even saying that. I'm not saying right.
I'm just saying that. I'm just saying that's why I don't understand the hype, because so many people are saying that. And I'm just like,
honestly, I haven't heard too much Minshew hype.
I have, right?
I guess because he's like a cult figure. Like his cult is gonna talk him up. But I'd say the mainstream consensus is pretty down on him. A lot of times he'll go undrafted most mocks. I mean, he'll have and I'm kind of on his cult to some degree. But even I'm smart smart enough to know he's not going to be a QB1.
Yeah, like I'm not talking about like ESPN rankings or anything like that. It's mainly like people that I just listen to on YouTube and everything.
Yeah, he's a well liked figure, and
right,
so yeah,
right,
he's gonna get.
Fine.
Sometimes he'll get too overdrafted. Yeah, I mean, if obviously, I mean, yeah, and I'd take Dimes over him. It's just, I feel like though back to his weapons. I mean, because I couldn't even say it with a straight face. You act like I was out of my mind, but I'm telling you, Laviska Shenault could be something special. I mean, he could be. And maybe. Sterling Shepard is getting up. I mean, I don't say old, but he's not
he's
all that great. And I mean, Golden Tate and D.D. Westbrook. I mean, obviously, I'd take Tate over Westbrook. But it wouldn't shock me if D.D. Westbrook outproduced Golden Tate. I wouldn't be shocked by that. And then he's got it tight in. He doesn't have a talent like Evan Ingram, but he's got a guy with injury prone guy like a Tyler Eifert who could. Maybe he is very injury prone, but Ingram's injury prone too.
It's not getting better. The more you talk, it's just making me feel worse about it. Like I don't know, man.
He's just like staying all the way away from Gardner Minshew. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not. But the thing is, though, some people are down on the Giants' weapons. I actually brought that up on the fantasy show with my man Greg Larner, the Word with G Fantasy Football Lounge. And he basically laughed at me when I tried to make a case for Danny Dimes over Aaron Rodgers because he's a Green Bay fan. He loves him some Rodgers.
You can't talk to a Green Bay fan about
right? But the thing is, like, I mean, yeah, but when it came to Dimes, it was just like he acted like the Giants were just total dog shit at wide receiver. He was like, "Oh, Slayton, he's overrated. Golden Tate's garbage. Sterling Shepard's garbage. Ingram's always hurt."
That tells me he doesn't watch them play. Then, like, that's what that tells because if you watch them play, these guys are mega talented. No, they're not. Like DeAndre Hopkins or anything like. But they are really, really talented. If you watch them play, they're really good route runners. They have a lot of speed. Come on, man. Come on, those dudes. Yeah,
those dudes do get somewhat slept on.
That's crazy.
And I'll even say, like, I mean, I know you're ragging on the Jags' weapons, which I mean, I know they're not like anything like to write home about, but. In a way, I mean, I know the Packers have Devontae Adams, but there's not much else there in Green Bay. It's kind of a dumpster fire.
Some people, I've been kind of hearing a little bit of hype about Lazard lately. I don't know.
The Lizard. Yeah. But after him, it's just like, it's terrible. I was like, who else? I asked him, I was like, who else do I got? He's like, oh, we got Funchies. I was like, well, he opted out.
And then Valdez-Scantling.
Oh, yeah, MVS, right, and then some other guy. This guy can't say with a straight face. This dude is terrible, y'all. I'm gonna start looking up Equanimous. The cat sucks. He's garbage. He didn't even play last year. And then in 2018, when he did play, the bastard caught 21 for 328, and
that was probably all in like 2 games.
Touchdown. Like, this guy is not good. I mean, I'll give it. He's a Notre Dame guy. I'm sure he's a smart man, but I don't know, buddy. Football might not be for you because that was a rough rookie season.
Oh my god.
But yeah, well, I gotta say this we're going over an hour, man. This second hour has been, quite the comedy. I love it though. I think I'm just gonna keep it. So like, chop this up, but I think we're gonna keep this part on because this is the fun of it, y'all. This is the fun of it. Like we're just kind of easing into it. The first part, there wasn't really like any like. I don't know, like any humor. And it was kind of like just getting straight to the point to get y'all prepared. And here it's like you can kind of like relax in the later rounds, have a few beers. They have some people, don't drink and drive. I mean, it's round 12. Fuck it. Like, I mean, who gives a crap? I mean,
oh man, my fifth running back is not gonna hit. Oh man.
Yeah, now with a few beers, and you might get the hunch to like swing for the fences for that player. You like sober, you might have the balls to draft. Like, again, not endorsing drinking and drafting, but also it's not gonna kill you. Just don't get plastered before you draft her. That's just asking for trouble.
And also guys, look, just make sure that you're trying to pick value. I know I talk about me personally want to do 3 running backs in the first 4 rounds, and you're probably gonna hear other people say that too, and that's fine. Like, if you feel like you want to do that, go ahead. But make sure you're getting good value. Make sure you're not trying to reach for players, just because you think, oh man, they might not be there next round. Like, at the same token, go get your guy. If you have a specific guy, go get your guy. But if you're doing mock drafts and you see Leonard Fournette is not getting picked at the end of the second round, and you really like him, but you have the 7th pick and you pick him in the 7th pick, okay, you're reaching. So make sure you're doing a little bit of homework. Make sure you're getting out there doing your mock drafts, seeing how people are drafting, seeing where people are going, and more importantly, do different strategies. That's what mock drafts are for.
Right.
They're not real.
Preach.
So make sure you're doing a no running back strategy, a no wide receiver strategy. Try one where you don't pick a quarterback to the last 2 rounds. Try one where you don't pick a tight end in the last 2 rounds.
I did that in the money league last year, and it paid off. I won the
Yeah,
league. I
mean,
took Jameis Winston, Cam Newton with the last 2 picks. Cam sucked. I mean, Jameis hit, but I actually ended up dropping him. I ended up playing with Kyler Murray a lot of the season, which was Jameis actually outscored him, but Kyler was much more consistent.
Right.
So.
So many people I hear all the time, they're like, well, I don't want to do no more mock drafts because I picked the same people. Well, stop picking the same people.
Right. We got to switch it up. Yeah, you got to switch it up.
Do different strategies, And that's really all I had to say about it.
I'm glad you dropped that in here. Glad you dropped that in. That'll be, that'd be a good way to close it out. But we did forget about a position that could be important, and that's the tight end position. We're gonna skip defense and kickers because we've been on now for over an hour. Don't have time to worry about those meaningless positions. In most leagues, they're meaningless. You might have your league with the commissioner that's stubborn and doesn't want to change the rules and still has kickers and defenses scoring way too much. But odds are you're in a standard league, and if you are, punt those positions, draft depth. Draft that extra running back and receiver, and pick up a defense and kicker come week 1.
Hey, look, if you're in the last round and Kansas City kicker or New Orleans kicker is still there, take them.
Oh yeah, Will Lutz and Harrison Butker, and Justin Tucker. You want to get other than that, you
want to go for an offense that you feel like is gonna score a lot of points, and offense that you feel like might stall a lot.
Yeah.
In the red zone, so that way you can get those extra.
Yeah. Team defenses. I don't care what defense it is. I don't care if it's the Bears, the Steelers, the Ravens, the 49ers. Don't waste the 11th or 12th round pick on a damn defense because those defenses might not be as good this year. And when they play, let's say the Saints, are you really going to want to play them against the Saints? I mean, last year the Saints torched the 49ers. And I mean, that's no bias there. I mean, we're both Saints fans. I got my jersey rocking here, but I mean, the facts are facts. We torched the 49ers last year, the supposed best defense in the NFL. So anyone drafting them early, I mean, you could probably play them most weeks, but it's like, why not? Why just build your depth and stream a defense?
Right.
Should be common sense by now. But let's do it. Let's do it. All right.
What you got?
Okay, so I feel like this, y'all. The tight end position, it's not that. We won't spend too much time on it because, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. We went over Kittle and Kelsey already. Andrews and Ertz, I feel like, are the only 2 worth drafting in rounds 5 and 6 if they're there. And then anybody else, I feel like just a straight-up reach at that point. Because to me, the league-winning tight end, so if you miss out on the big 4, I feel like Kelsey, Kittle, and Mark Andrews and Zach Ertz are solid in the mid-rounds. Those are the big 4. But once those guys are gone, don't worry about the position until round 8. And when that round 8 comes around, unless there's somebody else you want there, running back and receiver, go all in with my man Tyler Higbee. I'm telling y'all, Tyler Higbee is the real deal. I had to make my case for him on the radio show. And the reason I am is because that last 5 games of last year, this dude was insane. Insanely good. Too good to ignore. That's what I tell people. People are like, oh, Higbee's going to regress. Yeah, he'll regress some, but even with regression, he'll still be a stud. I believe he'll have 1,000 yards this year. I'm not even joking when I say that because in that Rams first Sean McVay offense, Goff will have his off weeks and piss you off, but I still feel like Higbee, for the most part, is going to be pretty consistent. And now that he's got that top 3 spot in the offense secured, I feel like it's going to be obviously Woods and Kupp at the top, but Cooks is gone. Guess who's gonna get those targets? Tyler Higbee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know anybody else. I mean, Darren Waller is gonna come back to earth in a big way. I'm not saying he's gonna suck, but I definitely don't think he's gonna crack the 1,000-yard mark again. Evan Ingram, as good, talented as he is, I feel like he's just too injury prone, and they also have a lot of other targets in New York, as we discussed, trying to discuss with a straight face.
Look, when it comes to Tyler Higbee, that's fine. I don't know yet if I'm going to want to draft him where he's being drafted. I might do it in like 1 draft. I might not get him in every draft, but I might get some capital in him or whatever. When it comes to Darren Waller, please proceed with caution because I'm telling you right now, if Derek Carr can stay the quarterback, fine. He'll probably still be good. They clearly had a connection. But if Marcus Mariota ever takes over that quarterback
Which
spot,
he might very well
which
might.
he very well
With
might,
Gruden being,
I think Darren Waller is going to
Gruden.
go straight to the toilet.
You're
So
right.
be cautious about taking Darren Waller. So people want to take this guy in the 6th, 7th. I've seen him go in the 5th round. Just be very, very cautious. I like to wait a little bit later, get a guy like Jared Cook, who clearly had
Jared
a very
Cook,
good connection
Mike
with Drew
Gesicki,
Brees.
Noah
Mike
Fant.
Gesicki, yep, I love all three
Those
of those
are
guys.
all good options. Yeah, so
Even-
'cause some people overdraft Higbee.
Even who I'm looking at right now, and I know you said his name right, but I want to touch on it, is Zach Ertz. I see you got him in the 6th round right here, and that's about where he's going, is around the 6th round. I think that's crazy good value for Zach Ertz.
Yeah, that is good value.
Because Zach Ertz is still
The top
a
target in the
top
offense.
3 tight end, talent-wise, right? We don't know if he's going to be that in fantasy again. But
Yeah,
he
because
sure
with
is.
Goddard there, Dallas
Right,
Goddard, he
but he
won't
sure
get
is
quite as many
talent-wise.
targets, but he's still the top target in the offense.
I
The receiving core is a
absolutely-
dumpster
I am
fire.
absolutely expecting Zach Ertz to have a bounce back year this year in a major way, and I think he's going to show everybody once again that he is a top 5 tight end in fantasy, and he's going to show everybody why they should go back to drafting him early.
Okay. And then
that's one of my bold, not I say bold, but whatever. That's one of my
I
predictions for this
feel
year.
that. Yeah, and then tight ends. I feel like the one I need to address because I feel like he's just starting to get way overdrafted. Hayden Hurst. I
Yeah,
mean,
he is.
I like
Unfortunately.
his story and all that, and he's in a good situation. But for fantasy, y'all don't reach. I mean, and he's getting reached on in basically every mock I've done lately. He gets higher and higher. The last
Right.
one did he was round 6. What are y'all doing?
So if
People
Hayden-
getting on me about overdrafting Higbee. I'm not
Right.
saying to draft Higbee that high, and I feel much more confident about Higbee than Hayden Hurst.
Right. So if Hayden Hurst was going around where Jared Cook and Gesicki, those guys that we were talking about, if he was going around there, sure. If you take those guys, yeah, give me Hayden Hurst. But like you said, he's getting overdrafted now. It's climbing higher and higher. The hype is getting a little bit out of control for my taste. So now I'm at the point where I'm kind of staying away from him also. There are 2 tight ends that I'm curious to see how you feel. And that's Austin Hooper, who is in a new system. He's with Cleveland this year. Had a great year last year with Atlanta, but he's with Cleveland now. And then, of course, the GOAT, Rob Gronkowski. I have to know how you feel about these guys because they're kind of being taken late. I mean, Gronk's going a little earlier and earlier. The more that I'm seeing, like he's kind of climbing a little bit, but Austin Hooper gets taken way late.
Yeah. About to say, I'll keep this simple for you. Take Hooper late. Hooper will be fine. I like Cooper's in the Stefanski offense. Stefanski utilizes his tight end, as evidenced by Kyle Rudolph. I mean, I'm not saying. No, Kyle Rudolph wasn't like a stud, but he was a consistent producer. I think Hooper will be very consistent. He's not going to be the top 5 stud like he was in Atlanta, but I think he'll be a lot of weeks a top 10 option. Somebody that getting him late, he'll be similar. I feel like in value to a Hurst or a Gesicki. I think he's somebody that's going to just deliver solid production week in and week out. And it's Gronk, though. Gronk don't want any part of it. I've told people this all season. Don't buy the Gronk hype. It's fool's gold. He's not going to be what they say he's going to be.
Right.
He's injury prone. He's old. He's just, I don't want any part of it. And they have O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate still in the building. I mean, those guys are still going to get some snaps. I mean, Gronk, he'll catch touchdowns, but I don't think he'll get enough targets to be a consistent option. He's not someone I want as my tight end 1. Maybe he's a tight end 2 late, but he doesn't go late a lot of times. He usually goes as a tight end 1, and then at that price, I don't want any part of it.
Yeah. So for me, the biggest thing, I agree with you about Austin Hooper. Take him late. The biggest thing for me with Rob Gronkowski that I would worry about for drafting him purposes is the thing that made him so elite and so unstoppable was how big he was compared to everybody. He doesn't have that size anymore. He's a lot smaller guy now. He's still ripped. He's still cut. He's still a big dude, but he's not as big as he was. He's not that overpowering figure that he was when he was in New England. And to your point about the touchdowns, I mean, we could even see that not really even be that much of a factor because look who he had. He has Mike Evans. He has one of the best red
Chris
zone
Godwin,
wide receivers in the league. Dude, he is going to absolutely use Mike Evans when it comes to the red zone. Mike Evans is going to get a crap ton of touchdowns this year. So I'm also staying away from Rob Gronkowski. Hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Let me be wrong. It is what it is. But I'm staying away from him also. So I agree with you with both of those. Okay.
Cool deal.
Good way to end it off.
Yeah, well, actually, before we do, I know we're dragging it on. Before we end it off, I feel like we need to touch a little bit on late round running backs and receivers.
Oh, okay.
So I'll start it off and say a late round running back that I feel like could be a league winner. I'm kind of scanning it here. I know they have some guys that I like, but I feel like one that could end up possibly being really something. I would have to see. Shoot, this is tough, but I would have to see with Sony Michel's injuries history. I know they say never trust a Belichick running back, but I feel like Damian Harris could possibly be a league winner you could get late, just because there's not like the running back room in New England. There, I mean, White is a receiving guy. Burkhead's not somebody you can trust. I mean, and then Cam Newton, they say, well, he'll take oil and stuff, but if he gets hurt, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just don't really trust anything else. And Harris, I know he didn't do much as a rookie, but I feel like if things break right for him, he's worth a late round flyer. He's somebody that I could see myself taking late. And they have the other guys too, but I'll if you have anybody you'd like to nominate,
So there's actually two guys, and one of them you're probably gonna turn your nose up at pretty quickly. And I completely understand. I'm not drafting him. I'm just saying, if things go well in a perfect world, he could be one of those league winners. And that's the first one is Darrell Henderson. The reason why is because I still do believe that Darrell Henderson is the most talented running back in that system. But we know right now that the Rams want to do a full running back by committee, which is why I'm not really touching him. I would take him in my very last pick of the draft, or maybe even in free agency, because we don't know who's going to take that job. But if it works out to where he's able to fully take that job, maybe by week 4, week 5, even halfway through the season, he could end up being a league winner because I really do believe he is a talented running back. And if he gets the position to be the workhorse, I think he could maybe win you a league if you're able to pick him up at a good price.
Okay.
But that one is a very
okay. You got one more. I got two more for you, unless you take one of mine
so
right here.
The other one I have is actually Anthony McFarland.
Okay, that wasn't one of my two, but yeah, okay,
so
I can give you
the thing that I'm very intrigued by is that he's a very, very talented running back, and he has workhorse capabilities. Obviously, you have James Conner in Pittsburgh. That is the workhorse right now. But as we talked about earlier, when you pick a James Conner, what do you worry about? His injuries, right? So if something were to happen where James Conner were to go down with an injury, the keys are going to be handed over to Anthony McFarland. And
really? The thing is, I think some people forget Benny Snell's still there as well as Jalen Samuels.
I know they're there.
Are you concerned about them? Or, I mean, Benny Snell, though, Anthony McFarland doesn't have a big build. Benny Snell would probably get the early down work, I would think.
I think Anthony McFarland would clearly show that he's the
take
best running
over?
back.
Yeah, because they do like to run, one running back, with Mike Tomlin. I could maybe see it. I don't know, though. If Connor would get hurt, maybe Tomlin would kind of rethink that. Maybe I should do a committee.
But again,
because
that's
Bell
in a
got
perfect
hurt.
world,
and
a lot of things would have
Connor,
to happen.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah. That's. I'll give you two more that I like late. Are they Antonio Gibson with the Washington football team?
Oh my god.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, I don't even want to get into that bullshit. Yeah, I feel like Gibson could have a lot of potential there because he's a dual threat. He can run, he can catch. He can do it all. It's a barren offense, though. The offense sucks. If it wasn't for that, I'd be really high on this guy. But even with the bad stuff or the bad circumstances around him, I feel like he could still a lot of weeks put up flex numbers and is a good bench piece to have. And the other guy, you're going to hate me for this one because I know you're an Aaron Jones truther, but A.J. Dillon. Keep your eyes on A.J. Dillon because if something happened with Aaron Jones to where he falls out of favor with Matt LaFleur, guess who's going to come trucking along and take that lead back job? A.J. Dillon. He is a horse. He is a big boy. He's like a traditional horse type thing. He probably won't catch much, but, man, he's going to run some people over. So definitely keep an eye on A.J. Dillon. Great handcuff for Aaron Jones,
I'm going to say this right now.
I'm not worried about Jamal Williams. I don't trust him. I feel like if something happens to Jones, A.J. Dillon's going to take that job and run with it.
So all I'm going to say about that is, if Matt LaFleur realistically cuts a big chunk of Aaron Jones' touches to give to A.J. Dillon and it not be an injury cause thing after what Aaron Jones did for him last year, he's an idiot. That's all. That's all. That's all I'm going to say. Aaron Jones proved last year that he is one of the most talented running backs in the league, and he put on an absolute show all year.
He had his down weeks. I mean,
that man
he was
a
kind of
monster.
up and he was kind of a roller coaster. I know you were railing
so
about
good.
Amari Cooper, but I mean, Aaron Jones was not the most consistent guy last year, if I'm being honest.
The biggest thing for me about Amari Cooper is not his inconsistency; it's when he does it. You didn't have that problem with Aaron Jones last year. Aaron Jones was
he did
really
come through
good
in the clutch
in the fantasy playoffs, and that's what I'm more worried about. I'm more worried about the playoffs than in the regular season. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, what if Cooper has a cupcake matchup in the fantasy playoffs this year?
Maybe. He's one of my keepers, so I hope. I mean, I don't know. But I mean, if you're asking me who I'm going to trust more, it's going to be Aaron Jones. Okay. I'm just saying if he gives the keys away.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm all right with
crazy.
Aaron Jones. I'm just saying, keep an eye on AJ Dillon in case something would happen there.
Oh yeah, look, if Aaron Jones gets hurt, absolutely.
Yeah, no, like in Philadelphia, everyone's all Miles Sanders, but I mean Boston Scott, somebody to possibly keep an eye on. Not really necessarily as like a workhorse, but I mean if something happens to Miles, he'll get a lot of touches. I still think Philadelphia is going to sign another running back. But yeah, all right. So we pretty much talked about all the running backs here. If there's somebody we missed, then I apologize. But I feel like we touched on pretty much every backfield, pretty much every running back in the league. I mean, if there's somebody we missed, then... Oh, we did miss somebody. The one backfield, it looks like the 49ers. And this says they had Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman. I'm not feeling either one of those guys. Stay away from that Shanahan committee.
I'm okay. We actually didn't talk about the Ravens either, which is probably the best backfield. I mean, they had their most rushing.
I think we touched on Mark Ingram.
And I think you mentioned them, but
okay, I'm glad you brought them up. We'll touch on. Well, I'll probably y'all never gonna stop talking running back. But two more. We need to get in. I feel like before we go there, Keyshawn Vaughn and J.K. Dobbins, a couple of rookies. I feel like Dobbins is somebody that could do really well in the mid round, especially if Ingram would go down, because then Dobbins would have the keys to that backfield. And as we saw, he had workhorse ability with Ohio State. And so, yeah, I think he's the real deal, and that Baltimore offense could do really well. And then Keyshawn Vaughn could have a nice role in Tampa Bay. However, they did add LaShawn McCoy. Ronald Jones is still there, and so it's a muddy backfield, though. I mean, Keyshawn could pop off as upside, but I'm staying away unless he slips to like the 8th round.
I do believe that J.K. Dobbins is going to take over that backfield. It may not be this year because I believe Mark Ingram is under a contract year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I think this could still be Ingram's year, but he is a great cuff to Ingram. Right. And if Ingram is getting older, I mean, Ingram could slip up and get hurt, in which case Dobbins would be great.
And what I feel like is they're going to probably run Ingram into the ground this year and use him for his last year of the contract and then let him go. Mm-hmm. And then they're just going to fully give it to J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, Dobbins is a great dynasty guy.
So that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. Yeah. But anyway, so.
Okay, yeah, and then, all right. I don't know if all right, we're going to cap it off. And I'm not capping when I say this. We are capping off this episode.
All right.
Real talk with wideouts, wide receivers that could win your league late. And I've got one that I've been preaching all off season, and that's Denzel Mims, baby. Target Denzel Mims. Lays in a great situation with Sam Darnold, who likes to air it out. Mims has all the talent in the world, big time upside there. If he's there in like the 11th, 12th round, grab him, y'all. Grab him. He's even if he busts, it's not gonna hurt you. I mean, 11th, 12th round. And if he takes a while to get going, be patient. Keep him stashed, and I think he's gonna pay off in a big way. And I think you're gonna look back and be like, man, I'm glad I snagged this Mims kid late.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I like Denzel Mims too. I really like Jalen Reagor too because
Reagor. I was say Rager's another one I like late. Yeah,
I like
that's a good one. Good landing spot for sure. I
also think Christian Kirk is being slept on a lot. He's
He's
one of my favorite sleepers this year, mainly because he's already proven that he has a connection with Kyler Murray. And
right, yeah, and he's just getting like casted aside because of the D-Hop thing.
But to me, I think that helps him even more. I mean, we've
seen
so many
he's
wide
not an
receiver
1A guy, but a 1B. I think he's good.
All that attention is going to be on D-Hop.
Right.
It's going to be one-on-one city all game for Christian Kirk. Give that to me all day, every day. I love Christian Kirk this year.
That's a good one, yeah. I think that could be a good way to end it because, I mean, they have other guys. But we could spend another hour talking about them. So let's cap it off here. So appreciate everyone that tuned in. It was a long episode. I told Josh before we did it, I was like, I noticed a trend podcast, especially during this quarantine, have been running long. So if we get a good rapport going, let's just let it flow, let it run. Yeah. So we let it flow here, got some laughs in, and just had a good time. So glad you came on, man. It was glad to get the band back together, and hope you guys enjoyed it. So, all right. Anything else you'd like to say to the camera?
No, I mean, it was good. It's good to be back. Can't wait to be back again. And yeah, guys, just go out there and kill your drafts, man. Just please make sure you do your homework and get those mock drafts done, okay?
Yes, indeed. And a little teaser for y'all coming up. We'll have a mock draft episode soon in which the two of us will be doing, and we'll hopefully have it to where we can see the screen on my laptop. I'm going to give that a try. Hopefully it'll work out. And also we'll have some rankings episodes coming up. Everyone loves rankings, so stay tuned for that. Yeah. So, all right, y'all. Appreciate it, Guru Nation. Thanks to everyone that tuned in. This is Spencer the Guru here signing off. Catch y'all later. Guru Nation.